Hello everyone, welcome back to Enter the Underground. As usual, I'm Daniel, and today we're reviewing 2025's Pinball II by MIKE and Tony Seltzer. If you are interested in music reviews, music discourse, and other creative projects like my B-Sides series, please consider liking and subscribing, as it would mean a lot to grow and build a community where we can share underground artists and albums. So I've been following Mike for a while now, ever since his 2022 album Beware of the Monkey, and then a year after that he came out with Burning Desire, which I really liked at the time. And I remember I talked about it a lot in my pinball review last year, and the pinball video was when I really started to really like Mike and pay attention to what he's been doing. Now this year he released Pinball II, which is a direct sequel to Pinball. Same name, same producer, Tony Seltzer, which Tony Seltzer is a different story. I heard about him a little bit, as I said in my Pinball 1 video, but I really only know him from Pinball. And as we get into the review, like majority of my expectations on the production side is based off Pinball 1 and how he's improved over the year. But for Mike, my expectations are built off Pinball 1, but also Burning Desire. So let's start the review with the production side. So I really enjoyed what Tony Seltzer did on the last one. I feel like on this one, there's a lot more highs and lows, just a lot more inconsistency compared to Pinball 1. And just to really get into the in-depth review, I just want to take a look at 5 specific tracks that I feel are reflective of the entire production side as a whole. As an intro track, Sin City was a punch in the mouth for Mike fans who might have not have heard of Pinball previously, or not really expecting this type of contemporary trap or cloud rap style. If they're used to the more soul sampling, literally exactly what I was saying on my Pinball 1 review. I was just not expecting this whatsoever. Sin City kind of replicates that feeling for me, and the beat is just wonderful. It sets this dark, aggressive tone. While it doesn't stick around for the whole album, that tone in specifically, it does set the mood, it does set the atmosphere, just all you would want from track 1. So another track that I felt was reflective is track 3, which is titled Number 71. And I did take some notes on it just so I can try to explain it the best of my ability without, as if you didn't listen to it already. So the track starts with chopped and pitched up version of a section of the song. And this isn't the only time that Tony does this in the album. I want to say it happens 2 or 3 more times. It happens again, usually at the intro or outro of songs. There is transitions, which I really like. Sometimes I kind of hate this on some albums, especially Tech in 2023, I think it came out, and then his last album, Plan B, I believe it was, or Plan A. Anyways, they didn't really help on those albums because they kind of made everything sound all mushed together. There wasn't really any memorability between the songs because of that. The songs don't stop and start. It kind of just plays throughout, and it's kind of the same problem on this one where all these songs are under mostly 2 minutes long. So what you actually get from it is just a whole album that you don't get a lot of memorability, and all the beats kind of mushed together. Nothing really stands out. But for this one specifically, I actually really did like this beat. Number 71, I wrote in my notes that it feels like Miami Vice. The chords in the track really give me an 80s vibe for some reason. I said that the chord progressions and textures gave off a strong 1980s vibe. I don't know specifically what about it was, but that's just what came to me. And I really like the beat in particular. I think the drums kind of added, they complement the chords, and it was all really nice. But it does end really quickly, which is another thing that happens with a lot of these songs that are under 2 minutes. It feels more like an interlude rather than a whole song, especially for this one because there's no hard kicks, I believe. So it kind of just rises with the instruments. Then there's some perks, some hi-hats, snares, and maybe a kick, but there's no high hard hitting 808. So when you actually get into the song, then it just leaves, then it gets to the other song. So what did I just listen to? There's nothing to remember. Another song I wanted to look at is called Angsty. This is a lot different from anything else. The other ones are like nice, they're really happy, but this one is a lot different. It's more melancholic, soft, and I wrote that it's a break from the aggressive 808s, which I just talked about number 71 being another break, but this is different in a way that it's intentional, I believe. I said that the loop itself is just a simple lo-fi melody, the simple instruments, and the drums. The lack of the kicks, the lack of the 808s, the lack of the aggressive 808s actually does a lot to improve this beat, where on track number 71, kind of the opposite. Another song is Don't Force It. This is one where it was pretty memorable for me. That's one of the notes that I took when I remember it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna remember this, and it's because of the bass guitar sample. It's a really nice bass guitar sample, and there's a lot of movement, a lot of vibe with it, and the hi-hats do like complement the bass. And when you listen to it, I feel like you will remember it. It's a lot more groovy in a way, and some of the other beats, they kind of just like place a bunch of I don't even know the specific instrument that it's there, but it's a problem I had with Danielson's album last year, where everyone is so focused on the drums and the snares, the hi-hats, that the instruments in the background kind of just get pushed aside. But the bass guitar you will remember. One of the final tracks in the album, called Jumanji, this is probably the second most iconic or memorable track on the album, other than Sin City, obviously, and it's because of this beat. It's similar to something that like Clams Casino would do, where it's that if you think about I think it's like LVL of ASAP Rocky, or maybe some other ones. I think Kid Laroi probably did some similar beat like style with this. It's just like a chop that keeps repeating over and over, maybe 4 or 6 times, and then it goes to a different one, but it's keeping the same pattern. And it's what like cloud rap is known for in a way. That being said, though, there is a lot to be desired within the loop itself. The loop is good, but there's very little variation in the chops itself. I feel like you have the loop playing over and over, unbreaking for the entire runtime, and what else is there to listen to? There is the drums, but if the loop stays the exact same for the entire track, like I don't know how you can expect someone to not notice it or even not complain about it. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential on this song specifically, but you could say the same thing about the entire album. Overall, the production on Pinball 2 is kind of similar to Pinball 1. It doesn't really build off that I was expecting. Now there are some standouts like Sin City, like I said, but I feel like a lot of the beats come off more as underwhelming or plain out just boring. Now let's turn to the lyrical flows, the vocal performance aspect of the album, which is, it's a side that can't be slept on. Okay, you can't have some really good production and then just half-ass the beats, half-ass the lyrics and stuff like that. And I'm going to really get in on this subject because it is really important, and this album specifically is a great show of how those two need to work side by side, and you can't just spend too much time on one side and not enough time on the other. So funny enough, a problem that I found on this album was there's a lot of inconsistency. Like I've been saying, if the production is inconsistent, it's not a good sign if the lyrics are also inconsistent. The lyrics are inconsistent. Also, the feature artists are all kind of bad, which is unbelievable to me, because there are, I think, 4 or 5, and they don't really deliver. And that's going to be crazy because there is a featured artist, which I want to get to in one of the last songs, which was very disappointing for me. I was long waiting for it, but I want to get into a couple songs first. So I just chose a few tracks that dive deep in for really looking at the lyrics and the flows. So Sin City, as I mentioned earlier, I really like the song, and it's a clear highlight from the album. Mike really steps up his delivery. He really projects his voice a lot more than almost anything I've ever seen or heard from him before. I feel like he kind of mumbles a lot, and he doesn't really, you can't really hear what he's saying. But in this one, he makes sure that you hear what he's saying. Now the lyrics in what he's saying is, could be more, but the flows, his vocal performance itself is very nice. It's very nice. The track literally right after Sin City, called Dolomite, it might be one of the worst songs on the entire album. I couldn't name you a worse song on the album, and that's really unfortunate for being your second song. You follow up Sin City with this, and it's just not amazing. I'm not even gonna say it's not even good, but the featured artist Lunchbox, which is someone I've heard in his own like personal projects, and I've really liked what he's come to the table with. But then he just comes in with this like heavy auto-tune, like semi-melodic like rap, and I wrote in my notes that it immediately took me out of the experience on the first couple listens. Like I wanted just to shut it off after the first couple listens, and I just didn't want to pick it back up. But thankfully I did, and there are another couple, better performances, we'll get into, not on the featured side, but Mike has a lot better performances that hopefully a lot of people didn't just give up after one song, and they listened through the whole thing. I don't have anything else nice to say about Dolomite, so we'll just move on to the next song. Hell Date is another song I wanted to look into because it is another featured artist on here. Slideshow. Slideshow. I do like Slideshow. He had some couple projects in last year that I actually really liked. I didn't get around to reviewing those, but I really like his production as well as his lyrics. I feel like he does both well. But on this production, it's not too dissimilar, but he feels kind of out of place. The lyrics aren't much to go off of, and his flow is just okay. And Mike is just solid. I'm not gonna give him anything crazy to say. I'm not gonna praise him any more than I couldn't praise him anymore. But just solid on Mike's part. Featured artist was okay, or maybe bad, but we have other songs to look at. And now we get to one of the last songs, Jumanji. Now Jumanji was very anticipated for me personally because it does have Earl Sweatshirt on it. I really like Earl Sweatshirt. I've loved what he's done in his career, really. Especially last year, he was on God, which was from Pinball 1, and that was really good. He had a really catchy hook. I feel like he really complimented that song, and it's not too different, but he just feels so out of place on this one. I'm really not sure why. Feels like he's offbeat. His lyrics are just really bad. I was not expecting to see something like this from Earl. It feels like he just phoned it in, like he just wrote this whole thing in an hour. Like he was talking about he has 100 bands like Avatar or something like that. It was just it made me groan. I'm just not interested in what this guy's doing anymore. Mike was okay, but what else am I gonna say? So in general, the lyrics are pretty inconsistent. Some moments shine, but the features often really bad. That said, Mike's flows are really a strong point on the album. You can tell he's having fun over these beats. That's what I really liked about Pinball 1. And I said the same thing about the production style. There's a fun to these projects that, you might not hear in showbiz, where it's more quiet, melancholic, stuff like that. But you can tell he's having fun on these, and you can't dispute that. Now, even while the content isn't deep on the lyrics, the delivery keeps things interesting. There's not much to listen to far deeper than just the flow. You hear the flow, consider the flow as an instrument in itself. Don't really look into the lyrics itself. You're not gonna find anything interesting. Now, in conclusion, I would rate the production on Pinball a solid 7 out of 10. Songs like Sin City, Golden Dragon, and Angsty, they offer great moments, honestly, but others are simply unmemorable. And it's more inconsistent than Pinball 1, I would say. I believe I gave Pinball 1 an 8 out of 10, so it could be just because my expectations were a little soured on this one. You're supposed to be building off if you want to have Pinball 2. I expect the production to be a little better, but maybe something can happen. If Mike's choosing a certain beat and Tony's only kind of doing what he wants, what more can I say on that front? For the lyrics and flows, I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. The flows are the highlight, obviously. Like I said, consider it an instrument in itself, but the lyrics don't stand out, and some of the features actually hurt the record. Like, skippable, honestly. In totality, that gives Pinball 2 an ETU score of 12.5 out of 20. That's a 62%. I gave Pinball 1 a 75%, so this is a considerable dip. But overall, it's a decent project by Mike and Tony. Yeah, this is clearly more inconsistent than the first one, and I just really want them to keep working on this. I don't, on Pinball 1, I said, just drop it. I don't want to see another pinball project. Mike, go back to your soul sampling stuff, and Tony, go work with Wi-Fi God or whatever. But now I do really want another pinball project, honestly. Despite the rating I give it, I feel like there's a lot more untapped potential. I feel like if you just really hammer in on getting some of these songs a lot better, knock out some of the inconsistency, and also just, you can't have these like under 2-minute beats. Like, you have these under 2-minute beats, and then they also have a 20-second transition. So what are we even left with? I do want another pinball. I want them to work on this, and I want to hear something good from them. Honestly, that's all I can say at this point. Yeah, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Your view, your listen. If you do mind liking and subscribing, I hope I made your mind. You want to keep watching. Check out some of my B-sides videos. And in terms of album reviews, I don't have any that I'm thinking of right now. If you guys want to leave a comment down below, that'd be much appreciated. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.